been doing trainings for various user groups all week and still through the end of the week. So we're almost finished, but not quite there. But thrilled to have you guys on, and looking forward to sharing the enhancements that we've made that hopefully will make using the resource desk both easier for you to navigate as well as easier to integrate inside of the HUD partners that you're working with. So we're very hopeful that one of the major enhancements that we hope is going to come through is the ability for the recap team to work with all of their colleagues in asset management and public housing and FHEO and other places, hopefully making things a little bit more seamless for everybody. So we're excited to get through that. But before we show specific information about your login and your resource desk, we did want to give you just a little bit of an overview of kind of the new homepage. So this is the new, for those of you who haven't been there this week, here's the new resource desk. This is what you see when you go to the URL. We've not logged in yet, and that's important to note because in the previous version of the resource desk, you really needed to be a user of the resource desk to get any information. And so we've done away with the need for a public user type and provided a lot of additional information just to the general public about RAD. We've also worked with Recap to weight both of the components of the RAD program equally. Those of you who have been doing RAD for a while will know that there's the RAD, used to be RAD first component, the RAD second component, and Recap has kind of rebranded those, and so now the formerly RAD first component is now RAD for PHAs, and now we have RAD for multifamily, which covers the formerly second component transactions, which are a lot of the orphan programs for multifamily. So the rent sub program, the RAP program, mod rehab, and soon to be the 202 PRAC program will be housed in the RAD for multifamily side of the RAD resource desk. Also, there's been talk about potentially some other things coming into that, and so that flexibility will be there for those users. So primarily, I know that you all spend most of your time on the RAD for PHA side, for PPRA conversions. So we'll spend most of the time talking about that because that's what most of your users are doing. But I did want to kind of point out the fact that we've got kind of equal weighting now for both parts of RAD. So what sort of information is available now? So most of you will be familiar with this, but we've kind of created a spoke system that allows you to kind of get to what you want to see as a kind of public user. But these spokes actually are embedded for you as a RAD user, and you'll be accessing this the same way. So we're on the home page, we're not logged in, we want to find some information out about RAD, so we're going to go to the document library. Document library has always been a repository for guidance, documents, those sorts of things about the RAD program. But it was kind of an amalgamation of lots of things just thrown together, and it wasn't organized particularly well. So we spent some time creating some categories that then we could organize these documents inside. And so trying to think of kind of getting started working through the RAD conversion process and just kind of creating categories around that. If you know what you're looking for, you just kind of come and say, you know, I don't know anything about RAD, so I want to get started. So you click on that, and you'll see that we've got a bunch of documents there just in the general knowledge about RAD. If I'm interested in more specific information about submitting a financing plan, for example, we've got financing the conversion, so that'd be something if I'm going to go get financing, what are my different options, or if I want to get some information about submitting the actual financing plan, then we've moved things down into this section. Again, this is all publicly available information, so anything that is specific to your user type, in an example with asset management, specific trainings that were done or documents that are specific to asset management team users, those would show up if you were logged in as an asset management user. But this is just general information available to all users. So then if you go back to the home page, so in addition to the documents and guidance, there are lots of trainings, webinars, and those sorts of things. And we've added the similar breakout of those here. So we've got the same kind of categories. And then once you click the plus minus, you see the various webinars that are associated with those various topics. So again, a way to try and point users to the information that we think they need and is most relevant to what they're trying to find. Okay? So if you go back to the home page again, one of the other big changes is around the notices and kind of getting information generically about the notice and other things. So from a notice perspective, there are a number of RAD notices that are available for folks. This is funny, this happened to us yesterday. For some reason, when we click on the notice, it takes a little bit longer than normal. All right, you want to try again? It's funny, I have not had this happen when I work on it at home, but when we do these trainings, we always seem to get stuck. All right. Well, let's just try a new window together. It's not happy, is it? The glories of the new site. Yeah, try it there. There we go. Okay. So what you see here are, in the top section, all of the relevant notices specific to RAD. So, for example, we're on revision 3. Later this fall, beginning of next year, there was likely to be a revision 4. So that will be added here. And then when that happens, much like we have on the resource desk now, this black line version of revision 2 to revision 3 that shows folks what's changed, there'll be a black line version that shows what's changed from 3 to 4. You'll also see that the supplemental notices that came out this summer are listed at the top, as well as the Fair Housing, Civil Rights, and Relocation Notice that was issued a while ago. So this is a kind of a repository for all of the kind of the relevant notices for the RAD program. And then in the next card below that, we actually have the table of contents of the entire RAD notice, and then you can hit the plus minus any particular section that you're looking for. So if you did want to read the whole thing from top to bottom here, you could do that. If you wanted to download a PDF of it, you could do that. Or you could go to a specific section that you're looking for and open that up and just read that section right here. We're hopeful that this will make things easier for the general public to find information about the RAD program, and kind of, again, the goal is to focus their searches into the notice and then additional things from there. So, Linda, you want to try one more time on the search thing before we give up? Yeah. Let's go to search there. That works. Okay. So, again, categories are a theme. So when you click on the categories, we've created some more specific categories to put various items into. So again, a user that's looking for specific information is guided in that direction. So let's take a look at new construction. Let's see what we come up with that. So what comes up, first and foremost, recap wanted to make sure that all of the references in the notice were the first thing that you saw. So in this case, there's a section of the notice that addresses new construction, and so this is pointed to that actual section, so you see that first. If there were any public documents that were related to new construction, that would show up here. There aren't any public documents, but I can tell you that there are some user-specific documents around new construction, and so those would show up if you were logged in as that user type. Then below that, you see all the questions and answers related to new construction that are embedded in the resource desk. So again, starting with the notices, then any specific guidance in a document, and then taking you to the FAQs around an area of interest. So trying to focus everyone's knowledge first to the notice and then to the FAQs. Okay? So when you want to go back to the home page again? So that's the kind of overarching new resource desk for all users. So now we're going to log in as an asset management user. And so first, there are a couple of different types of users. One is just an account executive or a funding specialist. So we're going to log in as an account executive first. and then we're going to log in as an asset management supervisor or branch chief second. So, here we have an account executive. The resource desk has been redesigned to kind of provide the same sort of card structure for all users. So every user type is going to have the search card at the very top. Then they're going to have, likely, if they're doing work on the resource desk, they're going to have a notifications card, and then they're going to have a list of transactions that are assigned to them. So let's talk about the notifications cards first. So this card is going to be in addition to the notification email that you get from the resource desk. So in this particular case, I've logged in as Bill Duckworth, an account executive out of the Atlanta office. So if a PHA has uploaded a document for his review, or the closing coordinator has uploaded a document for his review, he's going to get the same email that he's gotten before. But then when he logs in next to the resource desk, that notification is going to show up in this window. What we're hoping that's going to do is two things. One, in the case that the email happened to have gotten lost, he's gotten hundreds of emails and he happened to miss it, or it went into his spam folder for whatever reason and didn't see it. It gives it that second level of reminder for him when he logs in here. He'll see that front and center. Look, something's been logged in. You need to this is something you need to look at. They'll be able to then click on the actual transaction and go see that document immediately from the notifications page. We think that's going to be a very easy way for people to kind of get in and do their work a little bit more quickly. Okay, so that's kind of how the notifications is going to work. For a supervisor who's approving transactions and that sort of thing, the same sort of interaction will happen through the resource desk. Well, they'll log in and they'll have things that they need to do. We'll see in a minute when we log in as a supervisor, transactions that need to be assigned, for example. There's a card for that, and then once it's assigned, they'll get that notification. Then over on the right-hand side, where we have active transactions assigned, we've created a kind of a little quick menu, if you will. So you'll see the PHA name, and then if you click on the PHA ID, you're going to get a list of all of the transactions that you've been assigned to work on. So in this particular case, there are 2 Hickory, North Carolina transactions that Bill was working on. We have added a status column so that you can easily see where this is in the process. So Lynn, if you can open up the Fayetteville transaction below, I think that's slightly different. No? Okay. How about Kingstree? All right, well, we'll do a search and we'll show that in a minute. He doesn't have any active ones that he's working on. So anyway, the status will change depending on whether the finance plan has been submitted or not, the RCC has been issued, or in this case, all these transactions are closed. But regardless, when the account executive or funding specialist or anybody wants to get to the information about the transaction, they'll click on the name of the transaction, and that will take you to your page. So this is your asset management page. You've seen these pages before, so this shouldn't be a surprise, although we've created, again, these cards that will make it, I hope, easier for you to navigate through the process. So if you look in the right-hand corner of the green card, you'll see a little arrow. In this case, the card is expanded. So if Linda clicks on that, it'll close that card, and the next card then shows below it if she closes that card. We now have both of the cards on this page. So if you open them both back up again, Linda, and then you happen to scroll down towards the bottom of the page. So if I'm down at the bottom of the page and I actually don't want to look at this information right now, I really want to see the property information that was at the top. Instead of scrolling back, we've added a little go-to. We've got a little menu bar here. We've added a go-to feature that will take you directly to the top card, so you can go easily navigate this particular page very quickly. So staying on the top new menu items where we've got the go-to, you'll notice that there are a couple of other drop-down boxes: the transaction docs and data, the transaction pages, and then the contacts. So we're going to start with the contacts. This is something that just about every user that we talk to on that uses the resource desk mentioned that they really would like to have a contact sheet that would give them information not only on who at the PHA they're working with, but also who inside of HUD they're working with. So we created a contact sheet that allows the first page will have all of the information about the PHA-specific users on the resource desk. So you see who the PHA primary person is, the executive director, various people that you might be interacting with on this transaction. So then the second page is going to give you information about these HUD-specific team that's working on this. So you've got the information about the transaction managers, the closing coordinator, and then any other HUD staff that are working on this transaction. So in this particular case, you see the asset management specialist, the OGC attorneys, closing coordinator, so all of the information around the specific RAD team that's closing this transaction. Okay. Then the transaction pages, this is where all of the work on the resource desk has been done. So this is a place where data has been entered, things kind of as you're moving through the transaction, this is where the work's happening. So for you all, the asset management page is the bottom page, and this is the one that you're going to be looking at the most. There may be times when you need to look at a couple of other pages, like the closing pages and the docket. You can get to that easily from here. We know that a number of the funding specialists, for example, need to get some of the documentation in the closing docket, so that's an easy way to have them get to that section. And again, we've got the same go-to feature and the same card structure, so you can easily go to the final closing docket submission at the bottom and see this is the final stuff that was uploaded. So if I'm looking for these final documents, that's where that's going to live for you. Okay. We've also added to the left of that all of the transaction documents. So if you needed to see the rent schedule or the sources of uses of funds, the executed RCC, the CHAP for some reason, all that sort of thing, you can easily get to this from any place that you are on the resource desk. So any transaction page. So Linda, if you go through the transaction pages, and let's go to the transaction log, for example. If I have to be looking at some data on the transaction log, but I really want to see a document, I can click quickly over and go immediately to the rent schedule and see what the rents are. So I don't actually have to be on this particular page. Those of you who worked through the old resource desk, there was a constant back and forth and using the back button and all these different places. So one of the things that we really tried to improve here was the navigation function. Okay, so let's go back to the asset management page. So the top card, again, gives you general information about the transaction. This is where the HAP contract number is going to be entered by the funding specialist. So let's scroll on down. So then you get into your review. This is going to look very similar to what you've done before, but one of the differences that you're going to notice is when the closing team actually has reviewed the document for you initially, they're then going to be able to push this to you through the resource desk. So one of the notifications you're going to get when you log in, and again a corresponding email, will be the closing coordinators reviewed the HAP contract and they've now pushed that to you for your review. So you will see that document show up as a link to the uploaded document in that left-hand column. You can then do your job, the various reviews, if there needs to be a submission or resubmission back and forth. Then once you finally accept that submission and you sign the document, you'll put the submission accepted date in, then you'll upload the file. Once that final file is uploaded, the closing coordinator will get notified that you've finished your job and your review, and now they have that and they can move forward to closing. If you have comments that you want to make, this was there before, but we do encourage you to use the comments field so you can make comments back and forth on the document. This is, again, will be historic record, so if there are comments that need to live through, and once the asset management team takes it over and they want to refer back to the resource desk, they'll see those comments in that section. Okay, so then let's go back to the home page, because I want to show one of the things that I think is going to be really exciting, particularly for this team in asset management. I cannot tell you, and I know that you all feel the same way, how hard and difficult it is to find a transaction. You know, you don't know, you kind of know the name, part of the name, you're not sure exactly where it is. So we've created this new search card that allows you to really dig deeply into various sections. So if I know that a transaction is in the state of Louisiana, for example, I can do a search on Louisiana, and this is going to pull up for you all of the PBRA transactions in the state of Louisiana. I can then sort it by property name or by PHA, number of units, to kind of get my hands around something. But if I just want to send this list to somebody, I can actually create a PDF of this and just email it to someone. So if someone's asking for all the PBRA transactions in Louisiana, here you go. I can just do that. If I want to take the information offline and do some further slicing and dicing to see whether it used FHA insurance or tax credit, I can create an Excel of this, and I can take it offline and manipulate this data however I'd like. So let's say, though, that I really don't know where the property is, and I just happen to know the name of the property. So let's say we just know that there's Park is in the name somewhere. So I'm going to do a search on Park, and then I'm going to see all of the transactions that have come up with Park anywhere in the name. So it turns out I happen to know that this property was in Fort Worth, and it's Overton Park. And so then I can quickly click on Overton Park, and that's going to take me over to my asset management page so that I can take a look at what I want to see. Okay? So that's something that we think you all are going to be really excited about, being able to find transactions a little bit more easily. One of the things that it's not going to solve, however, is situations where it's an FHA insured transaction and the resource desk name doesn't match the name that the lender and the new owner are using. So one of the things that I'm suggesting in this case is you'll know that because in the search results over in the bar we have FHA insured. So if you knew Park was in the name and you knew that the property was in Ohio and it used FHA insurance, now you've got an opportunity to at least narrow the focus a little bit, and you can see where those transactions are. But unfortunately, there's no real good way to tie those two things together. Okay? So let's log out of Bill's account, and let's log in as a asset management supervisor, branch chief. All right, so we're using my friend Tamara Torres in the Fort Worth office, and you'll see that, again, as I mentioned before, a very similar layout as far as the cards go. She's got the same search card at the top, she's got a notifications card, but she now has this new card where we have active transactions assigned without a reviewer. So this has pushed the information to her that there are a number of transactions that she needs to assign an account executive to. And so she can quickly go here, find that list, log on, and make that assignment from here. She then can see that the transactions that are assigned to her team. So here's the long list of transactions that she can easily get to. Okay? The other thing that we have done, I know that you all have used a number of reports and that sort of thing. So in the top of the screen, in the blue bar, we've created a link to the reports. And this quickly takes you to your reports that you've seen before. So, Linda, I think we need to move scroll the little guy down so I can see what that's called. Yeah. I think you just slide it down. There we go. Go ahead. So this pulls up, oh, this doesn't pull up the right reports. I'm glad we checked on this. So this is a closing report. So what we need to tag this to are the asset management reports that'll pull things up by asset management specialist assigned. So we'll work on that. We'll take that as a to-do, and we'll get that fixed for you. Because what should be able to happen is you should be able to select the name of the various account executive there and be able to go through. Yeah. So that's pulling up closing coordinators. So we'll get that fixed. All right, so let's go back to Tamara's homepage. So again, trying to get all of the information that she needs to manage her team and her portfolio. As we're working through this, one of the things that we really want all of the users to do is really start using that search card, and really, hopefully, that's going to solve a lot of the problems that you all have had about finding transactions and managing things. But as this evolves, we want to create new reports if you need them. So once we get that report link fixed, as it should be, any additional reports that you all need, we want to make sure that we're getting those added. And what we can do is we can actually lock reports, reports that aren't specific that aren't filterable by specific users. So in the case of your pipeline report where you're going to be selecting an account executive, we can't link that to the top, but any kind of general reports, all PBRA transactions, for example, if we wanted to create that report, we could add that up there. So as we're working with you all over the coming months to make that happen, we can definitely do that. Okay, Linda, what did I miss that we wanted to show them? Anything else you wanted to show me? Okay, just to the right of where the cursor is now, there's the Contact RAD button. Particularly during this rollout phase, hit that button and send us a note if you're having problems. If you can't find something, if there was something there that you think is lost, or if you're just generally having difficulty, let us know. We'll reach out to you. We have had a few minor things here or there that have needed to be fixed, but nothing, knock on wood, has been major yet, and certainly nothing is lost. We have all of the old information in old websites, so any data or documents or anything like that, that's certainly not gone. Nothing's lost from the resource desk, so there's no fear of that. It just might not be in the exact same place that it was before, or as we demonstrated here, the reports are just not pointing to the right report, so we need to update that link because right now the closing team is listed in your reports, and it should be asset management team. A couple of other things to mention. This has been recorded, so as you have new staff come online, or if somebody missed the training, these will be posted next week, so you'll be able to easily get to these. The place to get to them, again, is on, I've logged in as Tamara, I go hit the RAD homepage, and down at the bottom, I see the trainings. So I click there, and there are all of the webinars that you can pull up. Okay, so that's where that link will be, and you'll be able to get to that very quickly. If you're working with the PHA and they're having any difficulty with the new resource desk, please have them reach out directly to us. The first day that we went live on Monday, I think we've had 20 PHAs reach out to us. We had a training with them first and foremost because they're obviously the primary user group, and we have another training with them this afternoon, but we were able to get everything fixed for them really quickly. So we don't want this to hold up anybody in their processing. So we want to make sure that we're not a hindrance to anyone. So please just have them reach out directly to us. Okay? Linda, anything you missed? So thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. As you're working through and you see things that you might want to change or things that you might like to see differently, we're definitely going to have a follow-up meeting with all of the users probably the end of October, beginning of November, to take those comments and feedback on some things that you might like to see a little bit differently. We certainly know that we probably didn't get everything right, but we certainly hope that, that most of the things we got, and that there'll be just some minor changes. So thank you all very much, and we look forward to working with you all continuously. Thanks.